But I think what's gangster and what I relate to is that show was so big. You're like, I'm going to move on.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, what the fuck? You're going to move on.
Talk about also-
Most people are like, I can't believe he's moving on. I was like, yes.
I talked to Michael Bay yesterday.
Never heard of him.
And I haven't either. And he called and I was like, Michael, what? I didn't even say who. I go, Michael, what?
Call me when you're
What
serious.
do you mean? What, the Bay? What are you talking about? Water? But we were just talking
Just for
about
the
kind of
record.
being a maverick because I think he's a genre inventor. That guy like created a genre.
Legend.
He's totally legendary. And he's talking about maverick. And you guys are both mavericks. And that's just a word that I've been thinking about and talking about. And, talk about the media just being like, what would be clickbait and destroy the true story? They were like, oh, TJ was crazy. People were like, oh, yeah. I did. I wanted to move on because I was like, I don't like doing things for more than 5 years. That's really true. And I got to the point, and this is how much I really care about the audience. I started being on autopilot.
Yeah.
I really
it's not
noticed
good.
that I was showing up.
Too comfortable.
And I was just sleepwalking through it. Yeah. And then people will say, like, did you smoke weed on set and stuff? And no, they give you fake weed, But I really thought I got to a point where it's like, I could be totally stoned this
still
entire
pull it off.
time.
And
I mean,
still
I
pull it
play a
off.
stoner
Yeah.
who's always high. And I had gotten into the rhythm. It was 5 years because the pilot was, so it's 4 seasons, 5 years. And I could have just gotten high and kind of that could be my job and work great. I never get tired. So it's like I can get high.
Never
That
get
could be
tired.
my job.
Yeah, once
and
you
I
click
can-
into
and
a character after that, it's just you get bored.
you get bored, and also you're doing a disservice to the audience.
But also the
Because I
level.
like this audience. I want them to think, and I don't want them to be like, oh man, that was such a funny show, and TJ was great, but then in like episode 5 and 6, they were really trying to like shoehorn him in there. I don't want that.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think
And
too, the
Hollywood-
level of success that show was at for you to walk away at that time. I think most people are like, I can't believe he's walking away. I go, oh, I'm a fan now.
HBO and Hollywood was like, why are you leaving?
Because the system doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and
you finally made this show's so successful.
so
Why would you
successful.
leave?
And I also had a component of it that was like, I was doing film and I was doing stand-up every night. So I do 14 hours. I mean, you can be on the fucking set.
I shot
14,
Schooled
16
right
hours.
next to you guys on the Sony lot.
Yes.
So you guys
Right.
literally, so that my trailer was here, Silicon Valley's trailer was right here. You guys were all over here.
Yeah.
We were right next to each other. And I would do, he knows, I would be working a 16-hour day. I would schedule so I'd have an hour and a half to run to Santa Monica, do the podcast, and come back, and I do it in my fucking outfit.
I'd,
with my
I'd
makeup.
pressure him and not miss the pot.
Because I
Yeah.
couldn't
You'd
miss
come
the
in
pod.
makeup
Well, and
and
it's
the full
good that you
thing.
did
Thank
it.
God you did, because,
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's
Yeah.
absolutely good. But because I was doing stand up every single night and they had to move stuff for me to do, I also was like, and I had a psychotic break during that point. It's just as we were talking about
Yep.
before. And so they definitely were like, they gave me an out. They gave me this really funny way to leave the show, which is Ehrlich is just in an opium den and that's where he stays forever. So I thought that was so funny. But they also were kind of like, this is hard. So maybe do you want to do 3 episodes out of 10 or 7 or what? And I was like, no, I think this is just such a perfect time to leave. It's such a funny way to leave. And the HBO was so sweet. They just were like,
Oh, that's good to
Are you
hear.
sure you really want to do? And I go, yeah. And I think that Hollywood in general, not HBO, I think Hollywood in general is like, but don't you want to buy a boat?
Yeah.
And that's the mentality. It's like,
God
didn't you
damn.
always want to be a TV actor, a TV star? Everybody wants
Like
that.
have stand-up.
And I was like, no, I want to be a stand-up.
Stand-up.
And also, I don't want to buy a boat. I want to live in Manhattan with my wife and do stand-up
Sets.
comedy. And so that's kind of the impetus behind leaving.